Hey everyone, Nick Falato of the Big Blue Banter podcast here to break down some Daniel Jones film. We are in the dead time of the NFL schedule, and I've wanted to go through the 2020 film to further evaluate Jones, Jason Garrett, and this young offensive line. And I'm not sure how many videos I'll put together like this. It may depend on the viewership, but I wanted to assemble a quick video breaking down some positives and negative plays from Daniel Jones in his Week 1 performance at home against a then healthy Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Because remember, Devin Bush got hurt early in that season. Let me just say, the offensive line was horrendous in this game for Jones and for Saquon Barkley, but the former was far from perfect as well. I felt Garrett had some good play designs, but his lack of appreciation and respect for Bud Dupree really bit the Giants in the rear end. It may be hard to respect Dupree when they have TJ Watt playing opposite of him, to be fair, but still, it really was just terrible because Garrett entrusted Levine Toilolo and Evan Ingram on Dupree, which never really resulted in anything positive, but leaving him as an unblocked pursuit defender on the backside and on the front side of the play-action boot near the goal line, which was inexcusable, was even worse. I get that has to happen on certain plays, but adjustments should have been made when Dupree dominated in the first quarter, and similar mistakes just kept happening throughout the game. Anyway, let's briefly break down some of Jones's tape here, and we'll start with two slant flat plays, which is a two-man route concept operated out of the quick game that requires the quarterback to process pre-snap positioning and post-snap movement to make a quick, decisive decision. The number 2 receiver runs the flat, and the number 1, or the outermost, runs the slant. The slant flat was a common concept for Jason Garrett, so let's dive into this real quick. So we have the Giants in 11 personnel here, shotgun, running back to the field side, the 2 receiver side with the tight end off the line of scrimmage here. And we're going to get a blitzer right here, and I think that's going to prompt Daniel Jones to throw in this direction, kind of like he's throwing hot, even though the blitzer should be accounted for in the 6-man protection that we're about to see. Let's run the play and then break it down. Now, it ends up being a drop, but let's go through what exactly happens here. So, as you can see, this nickel ends up blitzing right here, which is going to allow this or force this safety to drop down to cover the slot. Daniel Jones recognizes that quickly, which is really, really good. Unfortunately, for the Giants' protection, there is a miscommunication between Saquon Barkley and Andrew Thomas, which happened several times in this game. Now, obviously, you want Andrew Thomas to block Bud Dupree, and that would allow Saquon Barkley to step into the B gap to execute the block on this defensive back, but they run this little twist, and that confuses Andrew Thomas, it seems like, or just the protection in general, the communication, maybe I should say, because Andrew Thomas is always taught to eliminate the most dangerous man. The closest path to the quarterback is inside rather than around an arc. Saquon Barkley and Andrew Thomas are not on the same page, and luckily for Daniel Jones, he's able to get rid of this football. So what he's waiting for right here is Darius Slayton to cross the face of this defender right there who's going on that flat. And you can see he knows where he's going. Now, Daniel Jones is rearing back to throw this football right here. Darius Slayton has not crossed the face yet. He's throwing with some anticipation. Now, this is a route where it's not totally difficult to do so. And this cornerback is in solid position. Daniel Jones throws a catchable ball here, but it's just dropped by Darius Slayton. But I like how he realizes no one picked up Bud Dupree. That's an issue. I had to get rid of this football, and he throws it into a position that is very catchable for Darius Slayton. And this is just a poor drop on Slayton's part. Quick and easy. And that's what these types of plays should be, the slant flat play. Now, this is towards the end of the game. It's more in garbage time, but this was a touchdown pass to Darius Slayton on the same concept, different formation. You have Evan Ingram now on the line of scrimmage in a more of a Y spot with Saquon Barkley to the boundary on this side instead of on that side. It's still a shotgun formation. And you'll see, slant, flat. Only Daniel Jones has to show patience here. And why does he have to show patience? Because this guy, this player right here, this defender, showing like he's going to blitz. But he does not. He drops. Okay? And now, what does Daniel Jones have to do? He has to wait for Darius Slayton to cross the face, behind, I should say, not really cross the face, but get behind this defender. And now he has to wait for this defender to flow outside to allow Darius Slayton to come open in this throwing window. And he does that. You can see Daniel Jones, he burps the baby here. See, gives a nice little pat to the football, buys himself some time. He has the protection here. And then he throws in an open throwing window to Darius Slayton for a touchdown. Good job on Saquon Barkley here to get enough of TJ Watt, which is not an easy assignment whatsoever. And that's one of Darius Slayton's touchdowns for the year. Second of this game. This play right here ends up being a penalty against Evan Ingram, but I really like what Daniel Jones does with his eyes. So you have 13 personnel, looks like it could be some sort of man coverage, have some outside leverage down here in the middle of the field closed. At least that's what it looks like pre-snap with this middle of the field safety. So Jones is going to have two vertical routes from Evan Ingram and Caden Smith going up this way. So he has to hold this safety in place and not allow him to flow outside to cover those. And he does a really good job at it. Let's watch. Hits that back foot. Throws a really good ball here, but it is a push-off from Evan Ingram. Let's watch it one more time here. So you have both the out and up vertical routes, and that middle of the field safety is still between the hashes. There's a reason he's still between the hashes here, and that's because of Daniel Jones' eyes. Now, Jones has an easy check down here, but he sees that he has Evan Ingram in good position with this middle of the field closed safety in the middle of the field and not flowing laterally to take away Evan Ingram and Caden Smith. It's a nice ball, subtle push off, get the call. But let's watch Daniel Jones' eyes here. His eyes are right at that safety. He's staring at that safety, which keeps that safety in place. Right when he hits the back foot, now you can't really see because there's stupid things in the way, his eyes go right to Evan Ingram. He sees the leverage, and he fires a really catchable ball high over the top of number 34. Ingram jumps up, secures it, but as you'll see, Laundry comes in. Still, just get back to this. The eyes. Holds, hits back foot, fires. It's a good play right there from Jones. And now we have something similar here. We have 13 personnel. We have Saquon Barkley in the backfield. And we have the middle of the field closed type of look, but you have the wide corners and not in a man look. This looks much more like a zone type of defense. So what happens? Play action. And all of these linebackers get sucked up. They see these blocks. And the Giants do a really good job selling the play action because you have these double teams, except for you have Evan Ingram running across. And this is a Yankee type of concept because you have a deep post and you have a horizontal cross. Barkley leaks as well. And what happens here is Ingram runs to the middle of the field deep enough to force the safety to step up. And when that happens, since there are no other threats, this cornerback is supposed to drop to eliminate the middle of the field. But he's just not quick enough to get up to Darius Slayton, who does a really good job eating into number 22, running a nice angled route, stems outside, explodes back inside, and now he has all this leverage because that's a lot of space to cover here because Minkah Fitzpatrick got sucked up because of that horizontal cross, which ended up being his responsibility. And then Daniel Jones throws a nice ball for a touchdown here. Has time to step up into a pocket, high, over the top of number 23 as well. And I wish this was a better angle, but it really isn't because the cameraman is fooled by the play action as well. But you can see, kind of, Daniel Jones rear up, leads him in stride, throws him open, if you will. Good touchdown pass by Daniel Jones. Then we have this play right here. This is more of a showcase of Daniel Jones' arm strength and the velocity that he can put on the football because I'm sure you've probably all heard of, can he make throws from the far hash to the sideline? And Jones shows that here in a pocket that really is not clean. So let's go through it and then we'll break it down real quick. Nice and simple. Okay, and if you look at the pocket, I don't have the end zone version of this. You can see Andrew Thomas is beat by the inside spin of Bud Dupree. Starts crashing in. TJ Watt is pushing Cam Fleming back into the pocket, has his hands in the air. And at that point, Daniel Jones is getting ready to release this football. CJ Board is just sinking his hips into this comeback. He has a lot of space, and that's from the far hash, and he can't necessarily put it upfield because coverage is somewhat tight. He has to put it in this area. He has to force CJ Board to run back to the football in the comeback route. And he does just that. Let's go through it one more time. Catches the football. It's a 3-by-2 set. Sees the leverage, knows he has to get rid of the football, feels the pressure, uses good timing, throws the ball strong, the outside shoulder on the comeback, so Board can get the first down and just squeeze out of bounds. Now here, I love what he does with his eyes once again. Let's go through the play. Alrighty, so we have a robber type of situation. This guy is bailing right at the snap to take his responsibility, and he's going to sit right in the middle of the field. So what Jones has to do is ensure that he does not flow towards this receiver, since this receiver ends up being his target here. Now you're going to watch the end zone angle, okay? It's a 4-man pressure package. Start coming. Jones looking in the middle of the field. Eyes to the middle of the field. The route that he's going to throw to is over here, to the right. He hits his back foot. His eyes are still to the middle of the field. Then he releases the football, and he throws just out of the reach of him and right between this defender as well. I want to go through that one more time. Now that you saw how he used his eyes, let's watch from this angle. He bails. We have the route. He runs, sits in that soft spot because all of these defenders were held by Daniel Jones' eyes, including the safety. And he has outside responsibility, so he's on the outside. So there's only this little window right here. And remember, Jones held that for about 2 seconds before coming off and realizing there's a little window, and he throws it to the outside of this player. That's a really, really good play by Daniel Jones. And that last play was a 3rd and 14 play, so it was really, really important that they converted on that. And then there's this play, which was a really common play in Jason Garrett's offense in 2020. It's a 3-by-2 set. It's not always the same route combinations on each side, but on the primary side, the field side, the 3-receiver side, you have a streak from the number 1 to clear out. You have a flag from the number 3, so just a big out route, I guess you could say. It's a little bit more rounded. And then you have a pivot route from the number 2 receiver where he fakes like he's going inside and then pivots back outside. Now, the defense here, it looks like some sort of zone match, and they're going to try to wall off who's going over the middle of the field, but the throw isn't even going to be to the 3-receiver side. You're going to have the throw be to this 2-receiver side. Let's watch it, and then we'll break it down. So, you're going to have Saquon Barkley just run a little hitch. That's by design here. And then you're going to have a dig behind it. So what is this? We talk about this a lot on the podcast, Dan and I. This is high-lowing this defender right here because you have this safety who's a little bit off. And since nobody's even going outside here, you don't have to worry about this cornerback because if there's a miscommunication here, which I guess you could say kind of is, this linebacker does not know that this cornerback is not going to be covering this receiver who's going to be breaking inside. So this linebacker expects Saquon Barkley to be his responsibility. So once Saquon Barkley turns back, he jumps up, but this corner doesn't follow inside because that's not his zone. So you can see that gigantic void right there in between the linebacker and the safety. Look at that. That is a huge amount of space right there in the NFL. Daniel Jones recognizes the coverage, sees this linebacker bite up on Saquon Barkley, and knows there's going to be a gigantic space for Darius Slayton on this dig route. And he throws a high pass right there, catchable ball, a little high. He ends up securing it and getting tackled. I don't want to really kill Daniel Jones for this, but there are little things about this play that I just did not love. Now, they're obviously in the red zone right here. You have a 2-by-2 set in 11 personnel, and you have one safety up here, and it looks like man across the board, and that safety is on the boundary hash. And you have Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton down here with Damian Ratley and Evan Ingram up here. And watch the play, and maybe you guys can see what kind of makes me just say, come on, Daniel. Now he just throws it out of bounds there. He gets rid of the football, something that, we all encourage Daniel Jones to do because he can be a little bit reckless with the football. But with this pre-snap, safety lined up right here on the boundary hash. His first read goes to Evan Ingram and Damian Ratley. Now, he could quickly come off of this when he knows that his eyes are fixated right here on Ingram, which is going to force this safety to flow in that direction. But look, we have mirror routes here. Hard outside stems, bending back inside. And look at what Sterling Shepard's able to do to his covering defender with no safety there because Daniel Jones looked off. Now, by that point, Daniel Jones already decided to throw the football away, but he could have looked in this direction initially and quickly came off of it because he knew there weren't two safeties and there was just this one safety who was already on the boundary hash. He was going to have space for Sterling Shepard here, but instead he decided to keep his eyes in this direction and not come off of it with Damian Ratley being the primary read. it's not a huge deal, but these are the little things Dan and I talk about on the podcast that need to be just fixed a little bit. The protection is solid. I mean, Cameron Fleming gets pushed back, and obviously Daniel Jones doesn't feel overly comfortable because he flows away from the TJ Watt just kind of going through Cameron Fleming, even though Fleming ends up throwing him to the deck and kind of snatching him down. But I wish that he saw this. He recognized that the safety was going to even flow more laterally, even though he started on that boundary hash, and then he would have had this open space here with Sterling Shepard against the safety. But that did not happen. And you could see how Sterling Shepard had the space. And on the last negative play we're going to go over is right here. Now this is more so a huge negative, in my opinion, on Jason Garrett. This play call was a horrendous play call, and it put Daniel Jones into a position to make a dumb mistake, and Jones made that mistake. Let's go through the play. Not good. Not good. Now, let's break this down real quick. So we have the heavy personnel package, the 13 personnel, all 3 tight ends are to the field side, and you're going to have, I alluded to it earlier, the unblocked defender of Bud Dupree. And you're running the play action towards Bud Dupree and having Daniel Jones roll to his non-throwing side. This is just inexcusable, in my opinion, from a play calling standpoint. Watch, no one blocks Bud Dupree, and he sees Daniel Jones. Like, the football's right there. He clearly sees that this is not going to be a handoff with the path that Saquon Barkley is running here. And no one's blocking him. This is one of the best backside pursuit defenders, but this isn't even the backside. He just avoids Saquon Barkley and continues to chase Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones has to turn his shoulders to throw this football because this is not his dominant throwing direction. It's easily covered. Nobody's really open. I mean, I guess you could say this guy has some space right here, but Daniel Jones has to flip his hips to get rid of that football. I mean, how is he going to throw from that angle? And once he does that, Bud Dupree's all over him. He tries to do it. He's just too late. Maybe he should have just threw it out of bounds there, or maybe he should have continued to run and just tried to run. But this is just Jason Garrett just put him into a terrible position here. And Daniel Jones ended up trying to get too cute, which he does sometimes, ended up being a turnover and a pivotal point of the game. Now, those are the kind of things that we need to be cleaned up. Anyways, this has been a quick, about 15-minute breakdown or so of Daniel Jones just from week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I may be making some more videos as I go through more 2020 film on Daniel Jones, on Jason Garrett, and on this offense in general, because I do believe it is important now that this Giants offense and this team in general has added all of these offensive weapons. Hopefully Daniel Jones can be maximized and he'll find his groove in 2021, and hopefully Jason Garrett can allow him to do that. We just need him to kind of clean up his processing a little bit, unlock that athletic ability, and make those strong throws like we saw from the far hash, and hopefully Daniel Jones can kind of put it all together in year 3. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you. Nick Falato signing off for the Big Blue Banter podcast here on our YouTube page. Take care, everyone.